I'm Andy Robinson, and welcome to our continuing 12-part series on the topic of thriving in uncertain times. This is the second of the 12-part series. Our first video was released about a week ago, and it's included on the Resilient Southwest Florida website. If you haven't watched it or seen it, I do invite you to check it out. We're going to continue doing these for the next 10 weeks following this week with 10 more topics on this broad issue, this world that we live in of thriving in uncertain times. We're in a VUCA world, and we've been in a VUCA world for some time. VUCA is an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. All of those things conspiring together represent the world that we've been living in and we currently live in and will likely continue living in for years and years to come. The pandemic was actually an extreme example of this VUCA world. There's no question that the pandemic brought us volatility, more uncertainty, greater complexity, and lots of ambiguity. But my proposition is that's the world that we live in and will continue living in going forward. VUCA is here to stay. It's not going away. In fact, it's likely to continue indefinitely. Other elements of the VUCA world that come and go, or that might come and go as we play out our livelihoods over the coming years, are additional epidemics or pandemics, not out of the question. Natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, and fires all create a VUCA-oriented world. Market disruptions, new technologies, new ways of doing things. We've seen that over and over again, and it's going to create change and disruption and creating new ways of doing things in our livelihood and in our markets. Global competition is going to only increase, particularly with third world companies waking up, and particularly after the pandemic and entering this world of competition, and then governmental regulation and policy shifts. Those are going to be there on a 4-year pattern as we change political parties, and will create additional uncertainties, complexities, ambiguities, and volatility as we move forward. VUCA is here to stay. It's the world that we live in. What I'm offering with this video series is 6 personal commitments that you can make to thrive in this world that we live in. I offered one of those commitments last week, and I want to offer a second commitment this week. I'm also going to offer 6 habits to fuel those commitments. The 12-part video series is a combination of those 6 personal commitments and 6 habits that fuel those commitments going forward. The personal commitments that I'm talking about and that I introduced for the first time last week and will continue talking about today represent new ways of thinking and new ways of being the person that we are, the leader that we are, in ways that we can truly thrive in this VUCA world that we're in now and likely to continue living in indefinitely. I offered out a first commitment last week. We talked about that and offered you some ideas and tactics and strategies for looking for and talking about the good. That's training your mind to see the good in everything. Check out the video from last week to see the details and perspectives on that. And this week, I'd like to offer the second commitment. And that commitment is being intentional about what you consume. Choosing what you consume on a day-to-day basis so that you set yourself up for calmness and for being able to respond in an emotionally intelligent way to things that happen in your world, in your life, in your work, and so forth. So what do I mean by being intentional about what you consume? Being intentional about what you consume means bulletproofing yourself from anything that doesn't serve you well. It's subtracting, pulling those things out of your life that truly don't serve you and getting rid of them, stopping doing them, making it a commitment that not that you can't do those things, but that you don't do those things. Don't is a much stronger commitment than can't. And it's being deliberate deliberate and intentional about what you choose to read, the books you read, the magazines you read, the newspapers that you subscribe to, what you choose to watch and listen on television, on YouTube, at the movie theater, whatever the case may be. And it's who you choose to hang around with. There's a quote that's been going around for years and years that's been attributed to a number of individuals, that we are the composite of the 5 people that we spend most of our time with. And we can change that at any time by changing who we hang around with and who we associate with. It's what we choose to eat and drink. It's how we spend our time and what we think about. And I'm just suggesting that you be intentional about all of those choices. Those are truly choices that you can make about what you can and won't or don't want to any longer consume. As an example, years ago, 10 plus years ago, I made a personal commitment to not watch broadcast network news, and I've not done that since then. I didn't do it during any of the election cycles, including this last election cycle. Now, I do read the Wall Street Journal on a daily basis, and I do give a quick read to the Naples Daily News just to keep up with what's going on in the community. But I have gotten rid of all of those other periodicals that present negativity and only heighten the stress and anxiety that we feel. If it doesn't feel good for you to watch it, if it doesn't feel good for you to read it, if it doesn't feel good for you to hang around with that person or those people, whoever they are, subtract them from your life. Subtract those things from your life. Be intentional about what you consume, and it will set you up for calmness and for emotional stability, regardless of what's going on around you, because you can focus on the things that are positive. You can focus on the good things, as we talked about in that first personal commitment. So be intentional about what you consume. We live in a VUCA world. I'm offering you 12 ideas, 6 habits, and then before that, 6 commitments for thriving in the VUCA world that we live in today. These commitments are choices that you can make, and these habits are choices that you can make to fuel those commitments. And I invite you next week to come back and watch the 3rd part in our series, where we'll present the 3rd commitment for thriving in these uncertain times. Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to connect with me, there's my website. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be glad to connect with you. I hope there was a takeaway that resonated with you today. There was something that's different that you will do, a change that you'll make, a subtraction that you'll make from your life, so that you can be more intentional about what you do, what you read, what you listen to, and what you watch. Thank you for joining us today. I hope to see you next week, and have a great day. See you soon.